hormones. The decision followed a July 5th meeting when the governing body found that the current state of the scientific knowledge cannot guarantee that any physical advantage would be eliminated after undergoing hormone therapy treatments. The rule change goes into effect on Monday. We've seen this happen now in so many different sports. This issue being raised, some people are on one side, others are on the other. Here we go.
Yeah, Jacquie Jordan's here with us. I think this is pretty big. Essentially, I know the words might get confusing, and it's confusing for me too, but men will not be able to compete in women's sports.
Right.
That's a takeaway for cycling.
Finally, at least one sports organization has finally said no. Ultimately, I believe this is going to go away. Like, we will not have transgender biological male to female men playing in women's sports. I do believe that that will happen, like we've seen so many other things go away. But in the meantime, while they're beating us up with it, we're having to go through all these incarnations of it. We talked about Miss Universe had their own policy for it, because they are allowing transgender men or male to female to be in the contest if they've had the surgery. Now here they're drawing the line at puberty, which is fascinating.
What I thought was interesting too is the way they described it. They said that the scientific knowledge with this transition is that you're not going to become any less of a man if you transition to
and we really
a woman,
don't know
and you're going to have a competitive edge.
We don't really know the outcome of transitioning children before puberty, what that was going to look like for them going down the road. So as I understand it, if you have it after puberty, you can have it, but we don't know the results of all of this. It still remains to be seen, but how does a biological man not have an advantage?
Clearly.
Right. Of course. The physical strength, biology alone. The fact that it's even up for debate is quite surprising. And then it just makes me wonder, is there something that women could do, for example, in the beauty pageant or in the sports that haven't prevented transgender athletes from competing, that they could do to really send a message and say this is not acceptable?
They can boycott, they can withdraw. I mean, I think the spectators of these sports can also take a really good position. How we know, just like we boycotting other large corporations by pulling our dollar out, we can do the same with the sports that are not supporting women. I mean, this is indirectly, no one's saying it, but it's a war against women.
If there's no one else on the stage competing at the beauty pageant other than the transgender woman, that sends a pretty strong message. And I know it's terrible because you've been training your whole life, whether it's in cycling or swimming or all of these sports, and then ultimately you have to say, I'm going to step back to really send a message. We haven't really seen that yet.
No, not at all.
But
no,
and I hope it wouldn't have to get to that point, but I just wonder if it could.
Is that the next step? The boycotts now?
That's what should be the next step. Again, I think the agenda is being pushed really hard because it's all about securing federal funding. Federal funding goes through these institutions. These larger corporations where the sports entities are owned by are going along with that agenda. When that funding comes and trickles down, mostly through our education system, but obviously it affects sports in the high school and the collegiate level, then we probably won't hear about it. But by then, the damage has already been done. Women had to really fight hard to get their own, sports, to be recognized by these corporations for their own sports and athleticism. So it's already criminal that we're at this place.
All right, let's turn to a lighter note, shall we? U.S. shoppers reportedly planning to spend a record $41.5 billion during the upcoming school year. Back-to-school shopping might always be a fond memory of yours, but it does come as families are dealing with high prices due to inflation. The survey by the National Retail Federation predicts consumers will spend close to 13% more during one of the key shopping periods for U.S. retailers compared to $37 billion last year.
So families with children in kindergarten through grade 12 are expected to spend $25 more per child. Consumers are likely to spend more on laptops, tablets, as the demand for electronics becomes the highest on record. Meanwhile, for college students, consumers are expected to spend a total of $94 billion. That's up from the $74 billion from last year alone. So you might want to start saving some coupons, and is this Bidenomics at work?
Well, it is, and and this is, and Bidenomics all speaks about marginalizing diversity, but this is the type of thing that creates the most diversity in classes, because the families that are really struggling to get by, you can't keep up on this type of economic demand that's required for getting their children schooled and educated. So it makes it very, very difficult to stay up. I mean, and again, this is, we talk about supplies and food, and we've seen food and supplies supplies and gasoline go up. Those are basic necessities that everybody is struggling to keep up with.
Yeah, parents, their involvement in the classroom, and then also getting the supplies for the classroom. These are key things that you think about
and
when
they
you head
matter
to the
to the
ballot
kids.
box.
You
Absolutely.
parents, you assume how much the kids matter when they, they have the right supplies.
Yes, so true. Jacquie Jordan, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks,
Thank
Jacquie.
you, Emma. Thank you, John.
Absolutely. We'll talk soon.